Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a bit of a beginner tutorial slash playthrough focusing on military and diplomacy as part of our Spain beginner tutorial playthrough, where we are showing every single game action we take and also explaining everything that we do geared towards beginners. For this, we've already begun a little bit of diplomacy that we started last episode, in that we are improving relations with both Great Britain and France. These are the guys who have a lot of interests around the world, which allows them to do stuff, and we are also trying to get Portugal into our power block, so we are doing stuff like guaranteeing their independence, using up investment rights, trade agreement, this type of stuff, and because of this, we've exhausted the resource that we have in order to use this, which is influence, which is also giving us a negative prestige modifier. A good source of influence is going to be rivaling other powers around you, so if we take a look, we can rival a whole bunch of people. So the type of country that we are going to look to rival are countries that aren't going to have a lot of interest in various regions. They're not going to be able to interfere with us too much, and the perfect example is Württemberg. They are, landlocked. They are never ever marching to Spain ever, so we will rival them. And an example of a country we would not want to rival is Great Britain, who unfortunately has rivaled us, so they are antagonistic towards us. We don't like that. We're trying to get out from underneath that, but we are going to rival Sweden. They don't have a lot of interest in too many areas. Two Sicilies. Well, actually, we'll leave two Sicilies and Sardinia and Piedmont, because either one of these can form Italy later. The Papal States is generally unlikely to. The Ottoman Empire will give us a lot of Diplo, the result of which, because we have we have an anti-Ottoman society, which incidentally will also get happier, so we will slot that in. They don't have too many interests around too many spots, and we will go after Denmark as well. And where is Sweden? Can we not rival Sweden? Have we already rivaled Sweden? Looks like we've already rivaled Sweden. That was the first one we picked up, and so now we are floating quite a bit of influence. We're going to use a little bit of that to try and play nice with Russia as well, in the same way we're trying to play nice with France. Now, we discussed interests, and interests are what allow you to engage in diplomatic plays, which is what you do when you launch a fight. In particular, we don't really need this interest here in Occitania, but we need to maintain an interest here in Italy if we want to maintain our rivals in Italy. I'm not sure we have a rival in Italy. I believe that perhaps our Ottoman rival is based on them having an interest in Italy, so we do have to have overlapping interests somewhere, but we're going to keep our Scandinavia interest as well, and what we're going to look to do as a kind of strategic goal is to recreate the Spanish Empire, so we're going to put interest there. Now, this, kind of lens can often be a little bit finicky. You see that we try and swap the lens, and it gives us diplomacy. We're going to swap back, and we are going to get the strategic regions lens, which is what we're looking for. So each of these, we can see who exactly is in the strategic region, and we definitely do not want to declare any sort of wars in places where Great Britain has an interest, which is almost everywhere, because they are going to thumb our pie because they have a rivalry with us, because we didn't improve relations with them since the start of the game, which would have been preferable. And we'll take the little bit of an extra enactment chance. Landowners are pretty pleased with us right now. And so we do see that we will have a good opportunity here to start a fight in the Andes, though, and so who we will look to go after is Ecuador. But speaking of going after, we're going to have to tend to and talk about armies a little bit here. What we're going to do is something that I think is a pretty good practice. Is at the start of the game, we are going to just merge all of our armies. I said merge all of our armies. We are going to click on this button, transfer units to a different army, and we are going to merge everything together so it's a little bit easier to take stock of what we have, and we will also be able to reorganize and kind of explain a lot of things here. So we're going to merge everyone together, and now they're all in one mega stack. Now, we can upgrade in a couple spots our army, because we've acquired new PMs, and some of them don't start out with the best stuff. You can see we have cannon artillery, we have hussars, and a bunch of other stuff, and we already have mobile artillery, which is better, and lancers, which are better. We can upgrade here, or we can come in here and click the Upgrade All Units button. We're going to click the Upgrade All Units button, because that's fewer clicks, except we needed to click more in order to show it off. Now, for these, the bread and butter is going to be infantry. Every unit needs to be at least 50% infantry, and if it is less than that, it will suffer an organization penalty, or a cap, a penalty to the cap of its organization. You can see our organization is limited because we have insufficient command limit, so there's another thing that's limiting our organization. We do not have enough generals, but this will give you a pretty hefty penalty. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to look for generals. Very often there are two things when you're recruiting a general that you want to look at. You want to look at, in particular, or several things actually, I guess. You want to look at their interest group. As you recruit more generals from a particular interest group, that interest group will get more powerful. This is multiplicatively effective, and so you can really ramp up interest groups in this way. You're going to also want to look at their ideologies, because this will, as we've demonstrated and shown, inform what laws you can pass. And so if you have ideologies that you really don't want to get, you maybe want to avoid having a general, because if a general is both popular and is of the IG of a group that has recently lost their leader, what will happen is the general will replace them as long as he's been in power. I think the amount needs to be 1 year, needs to be in power. And so if we had this guy, he's not very popular, so it doesn't matter. This guy has expensive taste. He's slightly popular, so we could, if we recruited this guy, end up getting an authoritarian, which maybe we don't like that much. And finally, traits are going to be also important. In particular, this trait is very good. Defensive strategist, offensive strategist is good. At the very start of the game, tactful is the best because it gives a flat bonus to defense, but we won't look to talk our way through every single one of these traits. But now that we have recruited this guy, hey, our organization is coming back up. So, back to talking about, kind of which guys are which. The infantry are going to be at least 50% of your group, unless you don't care about organization, which if your unit is fighting any other units, you care about organization, is the main idea. If you're expecting to not fight any units at all, you won't care. We're going to take the 1 setback and 10% enactment chance on this. We could go for minus success chance. If we had a ton of success chance, we would do that in order to avoid the setback, but this is fine enough. Now, generally speaking, artillery is going to give you the most overall stats. However, right now, it is not giving us the most overall stats. Right now, Lancers is going to give us the most overall stats, but you can think of this as being the strong kind of army. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually split off our first type of army, and we are going to make that half, we are going to make this half infantry, because it needs to be at least half infantry to get max organization, and all of our artillery. And this is going to form our kind of normal pushing army. We're going to label it so that way if we take a look off to the side, we're going to just call it normal army. I like to color code things, and this is just kind of a very standard thing where it is half and half army, line infantry, and artillery. Generally, this is going to be the strongest fighting squad that you can have. Now, we also have a bunch of cavalry and a bunch of infantry here. In particular, cavalry is very good for landing and is good for pushing provinces, and as of right now, we currently have low enough PMs in our barracks, that's going to be these types of here, that the Lancers are actually pretty good. As soon as we start getting shrapnel artillery and skirmish infantry, and to some extent mobile artillery is already better than Lancers because the kill rate's really important, it's going to become more infantry and artillery heavy, but at the start of the game, cavalry is decent enough. What we're going to do here is we're going to split off one Lancer. And I know what you might be thinking, why would you ever split off one Lancer? You don't have any infantry with this unit. Well, if we land and no one is there to oppose us, then we will be able to push really fast with these guys. So we'll make them the land-only army. And what this will do is, you can see we are going to be stuck at 25 is the maximum that we could have, and we instantly get kicked down to 25. But the degree to which all the values inform what our army is going to have is proportionate to the amount that you have in that army. So if we have an army that is 100% Lancers, we will get 30 battle occupation. If we have an army like this one that is close to half and half Lancers and infantry, then it will get the combined stats here, but it will only have 15% battle occupation. So if you want to get as much occupation as possible, you're going to want to do this. If we land in, let's say, a very common play pattern is landing here in Russia, they don't oppose you, you can push very, very quickly with an army that is just cavalry. Anti-Ottoman society offers an opportunity. They want us to sign a trade agreement with Lucca. I don't think we're going to pursue that. That's fine. We don't really need that at this current juncture. We do see a play is forming with Chile. We can see that we can side in on Tehuelche, and this is maybe an opportunity for us to subjugate Chile here. So we are going to keep an eye on that as we continue to explain. Now, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to split off 10 infantry. Now, infantry in particular, and we'll split them off with these guys. Infantry in particular will have the highest defense, generally speaking, which makes them very good at just holding the line and defending. If you have an army and you set that army to only be on defense, it will never try and push ever. We see that we have our defensive strategists here, and if it's never going to push at any time ever, then you can ensure all of your battles will be defensive battles unless your troops are being borrowed by a different army of yours. And if you are in this position, having mostly or all defense is going to be quite valuable. We'll take the one that gives us less approval malice. So we will call this our National Guard, and what the role of this unit will be for us is we are primarily going to use it to hold fronts, or also we will use it to defend against landings. We're going to give them the blue color coding, and we will make them the castle, which leaves us with one final army that is half cavalry, half infantry. In particular, this army is really going to be good for landing, where we are expecting a fight, and so we are going to label this landing army, and we are going to recruit into this an offensive planner. This army will be pretty good on offense and as well for pushing, and so this is going to be good for us. We see we will juice up the Industrialists right now, and we see that also we do have enough capacity. This guy must have popular. Yeah, he's charismatic. I was about to say we need to promote this guy, because normally the amount of capacity that you can run for an army is going to normally be 20 for the base level general, but you see this guy can lead 30 guys no problem without incurring the same penalty. He has a maximum org of 100, and the reason for this is that he has the charismatic trait, which is giving him plus to an amount of... Is it based on popularity that gives us this? Okay, well, he can lead more guys because he's charismatic, but we're going to promote him anyways because this is what we would do. Also, he's very well liked, and he's Republican, which is kind of an ideology we think we're going to like in the future, so we'll be on board with that. We can see now, we can side in on this play here, and the reason we can side in on this play against Chile, the reason why, is because we have a strategic interest there that we've put at the start. We're going to keep paused, and we can see we can go for make protectorate. Fantastic. We're trying to restore the Spanish Empire. Chile was, of course, part of that, so we will ask for make protectorate on Chile, and what this will cost us is infamy. You want to view infamy as a resource. If you're not using your infamy decay, which is constantly happening, then you're effectively losing a resource. So at the start of the game, you want to generate a little bit of infamy and constantly be developing. We haven't done that because we've been more focused on other things, but we are going to now side with them in a play. And very important, we see they are a little bit like, hey, you know what, we would maybe like to join you, but it's not enough. We're going to just get this. And also, this is a particular type of play. It's a native uprising. And so we aren't going to be able to receive too many guys coming in demanding stuff off of us. But we do see Argentina also supports Chile. That's not too big a problem. What we're going to do is we're going to move our normal pushing army over here, and then we're going to talk about mobilization options. Those guys are mobilized. We're also going to move this army over. But we're not going to mobilize them, and we're going to move our navy over. And we are going to recruit an admiral for our navy, that way our organization can tick up. We do see a guy who's a landowner. We don't necessarily like the landowners, but we really like this. This is a really strong trait, cautious. So we'll recruit him. He probably won't become leader at any point in time, but just in case. Now, mobilization options are going to be important because they will modify the stats of your army in important ways. In particular, extra supplies will give you quite a bit of offense and defense. These bonuses stack additively with each other. Trade unions joined Spanish-French Union. I think we like the sound of that. We want to be friends with them, so we will do that. And so we're going to turn on extra supplies in a couple of our armies. Both, why don't we make this one, our landing squad, red. This is going to be our next pushing army. And our normal army, we are going to also give the extra supplies. The next option we talk about is supplements. And all of these will give 10% morale recovery. However, we know that this will create buy orders in our market. So these are not all equal. And generally speaking, the two better ones to create buy orders for are going to be liquor and sugar. If we could produce opium would be fantastic, but we can't, so we'll put on liquor and sugar as well, and we will come in here and we will put on liquor and sugar, and then look to the next one. We don't have any research for medical support. This is generally worth using. It's going to aid in your recovery rate, which is going to allow your army to build up faster, and so we will just ignore that for now. But now we have transportation. This will allow your armies to move faster, and you will also mobilize faster. In particular, moving faster is really, really, really good in the event that you are doing a landing and you're trying to gain as much territory as possible. So what we'll do is, for our landing army, we will give them forced march. And for our landing only army, where the only thing we care about is speed, because we're not planning on fighting anything at any point in time, we will give this. We'll also move them over to the front because we will maybe get to show them off. And another thing that's nice about this is, normally when you engage in a landing, you need to have max organization. Since our max organization is 25, these guys can always land. We'll recruit a unit, and hey, we see a market liberal industrialist. We kind of like that. He also has the tactful trait, which is actually insane. The tactful trait is very, very strong at the start of the game. It gives +5 defense. So you know what? We're actually going to move that guy on over to our normal army because he is going to be incredibly competent there. Speaking of a guy that we don't really, it doesn't matter as much, we'll recruit this inept guy, and we are going to use special advancing orders. Different orders will give different things. You see this one gives 10% offense. This stacks additively with other modifiers for offense. In particular, rapid advance is really good, very often when you want to push quickly, but you have to be at least 30% cavalry. So this army here, we could mix in some artillery later on, but if we wanted to keep our guys to have rapid advance, we have to stay on 30% cavalry. So we will be bringing these guys in. I want to have a guy who's pushing and defending in this army, but fortunately our tactful guy is coming in and he will be able to defend. We could also think of it that we just want to categorically defend here in Telehuche. The reason being, we can defend, use this army as an anvil. So why don't we click this guy to defend front, with the idea that we're going to land with our other army. Now, generally speaking, landings, you want to have the same number of boats as you do the squad you're landing, otherwise you're going to suffer a pretty big penalty. So we're going to recruit some boats, and it's going to be the case that as soon as you recruit the first troop in an area, you're going to get a full level of boats. So we're going to give every single one of these areas one more level, marginally, rather than concentrating the boats in one area, and this is going to allow us to dramatically expand our navy here. The battle is almost afoot, and our army hasn't gotten there yet. That is unfortunate. We might have to land Chile in order to enforce. This will be a little bit of an awkward position. Why don't we get started on this landing right away here, and we are going to come in here, and we are going to land with our... They don't have any troops defending. We are going to land with our landing-only army that can push quite quickly. But the problem with this army is if it encounters any sort of troops whatsoever, it will just instantly fold. We're hoping that these guys can hold off long enough for our normal army to arrive and just to defend here constantly. We see there's a 17 or 14 stack combining of both the other armies. Will we get there in time? Who knows? Except I'm pretty sure we get here in time, but you know, the natives tend to fold pretty quickly. We do get there. Did they win a battle instantly? Doesn't look like it. But we're going to be able to hold that front. And notably, we've put this on all defense just because we kind of want to show off a little bit of, you know, some mixed play. And now these guys have gotten in on this army here. We have a naval battle, which will normally stop you from landing, but we landed before they got here. And we will see this guy will push very, very quickly. We'll recruit another unit. and we're going to put this guy on pillage. Now, pillage is also an extremely strong thing to use because it will give you kill rate, and kill rate is really good. You will be sacrificing offense, but the kill rate and morale damage generally will give you quite a lot. Actually, we just need to advance as quickly as possible because this army can't fight. They will just fold against anything, but they can advance very quickly, and you will see they will occupy territory quite quickly here. The Navy's been freed up, so what we're going to do is we're going to land over here with this army. You can see we will have a 70% invasion efficiency malice. So if we encounter very many troops, like these 4, it might be able to repel us, then we'll be in really bad shape. We're still holding over here, mainly because we want to highlight some naval kind of maneuverings and this type of stuff. But we do see that we have bureaucracy deficit. I think we have some in the queue. We're just going to double check. We do have some in the queue. We're going to kick these logging camps to the back of the queue so those government administrations could be up next. And you see here, now these guys are pushing. They're pushing quite quickly. But the second this 3-stack gets here, they're going to just absolutely crush our pushing army. In theory, we also maybe want to have 2 cavalry here, because if we had 2 cavalry here, we would be able to instead split the army over here and not have any sort of front spaghetti. So this would be a little bit of an improvement, but it's fine either way. We're going to set this army to push now that we're going to put this guy on push and this guy on defend. The reason being is this guy doesn't have any specialty traits that particularly good at anything. This guy is tactful, really good for defending. So we're going to swap those guys, and we're going to start pushing out of here. We are going to have an advantage. We have enough convoys to support this. Our convoys are getting used in supply routes. That's okay. Portugal wants a defensive pact with us. Now, we are trying to generate leverage on them, so we don't like this because it's symmetric, but it is quite a bit, and we already have guaranteeing independence, and what this will effectively do is it will help to push other people out from the consideration, so I think we're okay getting a defensive pact with Portugal here. Also, we do want to get them into our block in a somewhat timely fashion, mainly to just highlight some ideas, but we will also very soon be getting Chile into our block because we are pushing them quite quickly. You can see this landing guy is wreaking havoc. He hasn't encountered any resistance himself personally. What happened to these guys? These guys are traveling to La Plata. Why don't we bring these guys over here to deal with that, where they were supposed to land. You do have to micromanage your armies a little bit, and this is a little bit difficult. These guys are not going to be useful over here, so we're just going to move them and have them do a landing here. So this will push along this army. This army is getting a little gummed up. If we land here, we will fully occupy this territory, and this will move this front of this 18 stack forward, so this is going to be useful for us. We get an event. We're going to choose the one that gives, we could give negative popularity to the landowners or positive kind of stuff. Generally speaking, the landowners are very good, and the last thing we're using them for is enacting free trade. We'll actually choose to decrease the guy's popularity because we have enough enactment chance already. We're in fine enough shape. You should see this guy land instantly as we just kind of come here. He'll just get a triple thing because they don't have anyone defending this HQ, which pushes the front. So now the 18 stack will come over here. We are trying to kind of highlight a lot of maneuvering that you can do, and we're just going to keep landing with this guy. We're not going to use him to push. This guy's pushing over here. We see that we are offered mutual investment rights. We don't want to do that. We want an asymmetric relation that we have with Portugal. If we come in, we take a look here, we can see that we are generating additional leverage as a result of them having economic dependence on us, plus 66. We want to have more leverage because we're trying to pull them into the block. Notably, as we get more and more block members, especially if they are recognized and are big, we will generate mandate quicker. We are getting +4 from minor power members, of which we have a few because we start out with the subjects in the Philippines and also in Cuba. We will generate even more mandate, which will allow us to get cards for special bonuses as things move up. We see that, hey, we see our first battle, we are just going to get absolutely stomped out. Actually, incredibly enough, why do we have 30 offense here? We must have rolled pretty well. And to be fair, the Lancers do have 30 base offense, but this is giving us, we do have a minus 25% offense penalty, but it stacks additively with these guys who are each giving a plus 10% bonus from rapid advance here. So it's minus 15% is not too bad, especially when your base is 30. This front is unattended, so it will push, but it won't push quite as quickly as this cavalry would push, because again, to highlight, with cavalry. We get more battle occupation here, we move faster, and so it's quicker for us to push fronts. But we're pushing in either case, and we're going to enforce pretty shortly on Chile. Now, it probably would have been better for us just to declare on Chile ourselves instead of joining this war, because Chile is going to lose land to this native uprising as we enforce on them. However, Great Britain has an interest here. If we had declared on Chile, Great Britain would have likely sided against us, and so in doing it this way, we can kind of avoid that fate, or hope to avoid that fate. We are pushing around Argentina. The battle occupation is a little bit bugged looking. There we go. Now it's back in, and we are getting things done here. To kind of, I think we explained each of these kind of armies. We haven't mobilized these armies because we haven't seen any landings coming in, and so it's not too big a deal. But I think we are going to try and diplomatically work on both New Granada and Peru, Bolivia. So why don't we improve relations and start improving relations with both of them, because we are going to try and pull them into the bloc. We enforce successfully, and now everything's going to be over quite quickly for Chile. As soon as they're 100% occupied, they get auto-enforced on. The other thing that is important is this war support. We're taking the war goal is very, very important, because if you do not take the war goal, you will be stuck at 0. So that is why Chile cannot enforce on Tejeluche, is because they do not have what they need in order to enforce this. Other than that, you will tick down from a variety of things, like here. You see that Tejeluche would actually get -10 occupation a tick if the war goal was controlled, and Chile is getting -17 a tick. They do get enforced on, and you see they did lose a huge chunk of land, which is unfortunate for them, but for us, they are now inside of our power block. We can see that Chile is in here, and instead of generating, +4 mandate per tick, we are generating +6. But we are going to lose cohesion. You see our cohesion is going down to 24 as a result of Chile not liking us very much and having high liberty desires. So we're going to look to improve relations with Chile here as well. Now, with Peru, Bolivia, and New Granada, we want to do a lot of the same things that we had put in on Portugal, because we want to eventually pull them into our block. And so this is something that we're thinking about. But another thing we're thinking about is, hey, we wanted to declare war on Ecuador. If you're not using your infamy decay, you are in some sense losing it, and what we can do is we can make a diplomatic demand towards Ecuador. We can see when we are going to declare a play, what is likely to occur. We will see who's on our side, who's on the enemy side, and who is likely to join either side. We see people aren't too big a fan of joining either side, other than, Chile maybe wants another round. We see our next law is passed to assent, so that's okay. And so we are interested in doing this. However, we will have a little bit of a hard time landing because we only have 9 boats. So we have 12 more in the queue. Why don't we confirm this and then also come over here, and we are going to move some of this from the back of the queue. Oh, it's already kind of coming on up. It's only 100% or 100 construction for these gov ownerships, gov buildings, so we'll just put the power block statues in the back, and we will have these naval bases coming in. We will also put in a couple other things. We are going to put in war reparations, and we are going to just put in that. And also, these guys are going to be very likely to back down because they are fearful. And the more war goals you have in that are non-primary, the more likely someone is going to be to back down when their confidence level is low. If their confidence level is high, they will almost never back down. But this is not that situation. And so we are going to be able to try and get this in on them. We have prejudiced employees. Not like this, no. That gives us some minus authority. We see we have a pretty good amount of authority, and we're earning quite a bit of money here, and we're at 140 construction. So coming back in to focus on the econ a little bit, I think we're going to add another 5 construction sectors into Castile, which is going to be the capital. We're still looking to build tall. We still need to get a little bit of infrastructure in Asturias. I'm sure that's in the queue already. And then we will kind of bring our attention back here. Things are going okay. No one has joined on either side, which is a lot of what we expected. Again, if we had declared a war in Grand Colombia, for example, trying to get New Granada, it's very likely that the UK would have sided against us, which is quite scary. I think that since we're making a lot of money, we're also going to look to get a little bit more innovation here. Now, innovation is going to allow us to research text faster. There is a cap, but this cap is a soft cap. If you go over this, the innovation will still be useful. 60% of it will help you to spread technology to your country, and so it won't be as efficient. We're going to build a level 20 university in the capital. And the reason we're building this really tall is because of economies of scale applies quite strongly to universities. If we take a look here, we will see that, well, we can't take a look at the university, but it operates in a way that's somewhat similar to a government administration, where a majority of the cost is in the wages. Throughput will increase input goods and the total outputs, and it won't increase wages, so getting throughput on stuff where wages are a big proportion of it is going to be really useful. We saw that Ecuador, in particular, put in war reparations on us, so they need to occupy a state of ours that is incorporated in order to enforce this. We have all the time in the world to prepare because they won't be able to take us below zero until that happens. I think what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and get an 18 stack navy and then land with our normal army here, which is going to be able to churn through them quite quickly with the kill rate is going to be what we are looking for. So we're going to mobilize these guys. We researched nitroglycerin, which is going to be good for us, bad for our enemies because those things go boom. We are going to, in particular, put in explosives industry. We're going to put it in Western Andalusia. We get free trade, which is going to be good for us in terms of being able to trade, and we're going to put explosives in here, and we're going to auto-expand it. The reason why a big input of this is sulfur, this is our one state that produces sulfur, and so this is going to allow us to really kind of ramp this up. We're also going to put in nitroglycerin here. I think we don't have any of it, and so we are going to look to import explosives for the short term while we have a shortage, and then look to resolve it in the long term ourselves. So we're just going to import this. We're going to import it from the British and the French. We want to do trade with them. We want to get trade agreements, and we also see an end to the Corn Laws, which is the event that we used to get this market liberal landowner a couple episodes ago, who's quite happy with us. We will let the grain trade begin, and we will gain a ton of loyalists, so that's going to be fantastic for us. Coming in here, we will see very, very quickly, once we finish... When we finish these naval bases, they will recruit, as soon as they recruit a single soldier, they will give us another level. So we might only have like 10 extra soldiers, but if they're all in different frigates, this will give us an additional 10 levels and will allow us to land quite easily here. Let's continue and kind of develop some of the economy stuff a little bit. We are just taking a quick look over things. Let's take a look at prices. This can be a good, or actually we have PMs that we need to switch. We're going to switch to canned fish, and we're going to switch to patent stills. We are also going to, since we are importing this and we don't want to overthink it too much, we're going to switch all of this to nitroglycerin, which will cause a temporary shortage. In theory, we would want to swap over a little bit at a time, but we want to focus a little bit more on the military here. As we, well, I guess we're recruiting up still. So, and we're still building more construction sectors. Generally speaking, around 200 construction is often when I like to go for the 20 stack on universities. This is going to allow us to research stuff a lot faster. I think that kind of because we're a little bit afraid of both Spain, or sorry, not Spain. We're not afraid of Spain. Well, we're afraid of ourselves. We're afraid what we're going to do. But since we're afraid of the UK and France a little bit, and we're talking about the military, a very important technology is going to be skirmish infantry, which is going to boost us. Currently, the total stats we get from infantry, of which we have to use at least 50% and sometimes more, we are getting a total stats of 45. This will bring this up to 60. So this is going to be a very important one in the early game, especially in multiplayer. Another tech that we could go for would be breach loading artillery. It's a little ways off, but here's where the cannons start to really shine. This would give a total stats of, or sorry, not breach loading artillery. What am I thinking? Where's the PM? Do we already have it? Shoot. Is that the next cannon PM? Or am I just... Okay, no, it is here. It's shrapnel artillery. Sorry, everyone. This is going to be plus 70 total. And so this is where cannons start to really outpace the other ones. We're going to put this as the next one. And then we will continue on. We see the naval bases are coming in. They're going to complete pretty quickly. This is going to be good. And we also take a look here. We are draining the investment pool. This is good. This 4 million, it is from the ownership pops that are generating a ton of money and contributing it to the investment pool. And you want this get this number down to 0. A drain is good because this means that money's being injected into your economy. So we want to see this decreasing as much as possible. And in terms of how much money we think we're earning, we always want to add these two together. But this drain down, if you're not using the investment pool, it's effectively kind of like losing money. And so this is going to be useful for us. We see the railway is almost done here in Castile. This actually probably is not that important. We're going to kick the naval bases all in front of it because we don't have negative infrastructure in Castile, and we just want to get these naval bases done so that we can, do this war in order to get New Granada into both of our, power block as well as our market. You can see that Peru is already in our power block and market, and you can see that our cohesion has gone down because Peru is upset with us. We are approaching our next principle though, and we will have a few options in terms of what we can do. And so maybe we will talk about those a little bit here. Just coming on up on Ecuador, kind of, we are in a little bit of a waiting spot. We see that our bases are starting to finish, and if we take a look here at the frigates, we see that a lot of these only have 62 guys, 23, 75, it doesn't matter, it still counts as a level. So we will go ahead and we will land in Ecuador with this army. By the time it gets there, it will likely be a full enough stack to fully land Ecuador without too much problems. It is landing into a 10 stack, of which we will see a combination of cavalry and infantry. The cavalry is really bad at defending, so this puts us in good shape, and we get our next mandate. We do want to generate mandate a little bit faster, so we could choose vassalization 2. If you choose your primary group again, it will help to increase your cohesion, which will allow you to generate more mandate, and it also helps you to generate additional leverage. One of the reasons we are having a little bit of trouble getting Portugal in now, or we've slowed down in terms of how much leverage we're generating, is because our cohesion's going down because we subjugated Peru. I think we're going to choose the very, very strong construction 1 though. State construction efficiency is a very strong modifier, and we will get that in there. Our army is coming around, and it is about to get here. Now, when you land, you are subject to a pretty hefty penalty in terms of offense. So even though we have a way bigger army, we are going to see that things are looking better in terms of the raw stats of these guys, even though they are defending with cavalry. However, we have a bigger army, and because of that, we will be able to get in here, and we will steadily land. The penalty is pretty big, but we have a better army. The penalty can eventually be overcome with Miltech 4, which is going to be landing craft, but we are pretty far from that. And in any case, we land in here in Ecuador, and we are going to enforce on them and get military reparations and come one step closer to restoring the Spanish Empire here. We are going to look again to do it probably diplomatically with both New Granada and Peru, Bolivia, but maybe we don't. A big kind of reason why we are going to have struggles in this regard is going to be, interference from Great Britain and also from France. Possibly, France feels some kind of ways about us. But now we see we are going to have, these guys aren't a minor power, so they're not going to contribute as much to block generation. But importantly, they are adjacent to both Peru, Bolivia, and New Granada, and now they are in the market, the Spanish market, which is going to allow us to run trade routes a little bit better between New Granada and our country here. So what we're going to do is we are going to come in. Well, first of all, actually, let's do this. Where we have subjects, we get free interests, so we now have a few more interests, and when you build a lot of boats, you get interest. So we're going to declare a bunch of interests here up along the coast, kind of former territory, and I think we're going to take a look at declaring on Costa Rica here before, once we get an interest. So let's take a look at these guys' market. We want to trade a lot with them and improve relations with them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look to export luxury goods. In particular, this effectively will decrease the price of the non-luxury goods, which can be very good for us because it will make the luxury buildings, the tailors more profitable as a result of exporting the luxury goods, but the regular goods are not getting more expensive. So in some sense, it will improve the price of regular clothing for us, which is going to be good. We are also going to look to do the same thing. We're looking what's expensive in their market. Those routes aren't profitable right now. They are likely to get a lot more profitable later. We do see that these guys categorically don't produce clothes, but hey, we're trying to focus and build up tools. We can export tools profitably here, and we can use this lens instead as well, which is probably going to be a little bit better. We are going to look to export tools. We're going to export it to this market. We're going to look to export wood. Wood, we really just want to focus on building ourselves, so it's not too big a deal if we're eating a little bit of a penalty there. We're gonna save off on the hardwood, and we are also going to look to export in particular iron and coal if they are profitable. We see that they're not profitable, which is a shame. Let's take a look at coal. Is that profitable? No, not quite. And let's see if we can import anything from these guys, whether it is grain or cotton or dyes or this type of stuff. We see fabric. We can import fabric. Hey. What about meat? Nope, can't import meat. We know that they're not going to have silk there because there's not silk potentials there. And we can import dyes from New Granada. And so this will help us by running a bunch of these trade routes and improving relations. We will maybe be able to get trade agreements and eventually incorporate them into our country like we are going to be doing with Portugal. We could guarantee independence there, but let's focus on having this minus infamy generation and leverage generation modifier here. I think we're going to maybe have time for one more war, and so let's take a look at what it would take to just conquer Costa Rica and who will maybe join. Now here we see Great Britain. They have a minus 53. They are somewhat likely to join against us here, and so the real danger of the UK specifically is really enormous. And the reason for this is they actually have this treaty port here in Gibraltar, so they already have a front with us, so they don't have to land us, they don't have to use a navy and incur a penalty. Here's what we're talking about. We don't have enough capacity, we don't have enough command limit. We're going to promote this guy, and that's going to rectify that issue. Very important on the navy as well. Your navy always gets split amongst the amount of commanders you have whenever you have a naval battle, which means if you have 100 stack but you have 4 commanders, when you fight a battle, you're going to only fight with 25 ships. So you want to minimize the amount of naval commanders you have. This is really important. But I think that we are going to kind of conclude this episode here. We have shown a little bit in terms of what types of armies we like to have. We have this army, which is a landing and pushing army combo, where it's half cavalry, half infantry, utilizing the improved offense from the Lancers, as well as battle occupation, speed, and mobilizing for moving faster. We have this normal pushing army. It's got mobilization options just for raw stats, and it's got the raw stats of the artillery and the infantry, good at pushing. We have this defense-only army, which is just utilizing only line infantry, which is going to be good for defending. We, in particular, are going to use this to protect against landings, because landings will eat a lot of damage anyways. We could go for kill rate, but it is going to be a little bit more expensive to mobilize those guys. And then we have an army that we kind of zigzagged around with that is landing only, where the only thing that they care about is landing and pushing as quickly as possible. They will fold against anything they have to fight, so we just have only transportation because all we care about is how quickly they move. We've also taken a few steps here to improve diplomacy. We're improving relations with Russia, France, and the UK, and we are also getting a little bit closer to pulling Portugal into the bloc, although we did expand the bloc in 2 ways, in 2 fronts, by taking out both Chile and Ecuador here. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. If you have a specific thing you want us to focus on next, please let me know, because I do not have a theme for next episode where we will be focusing on a particular thing. But other than that, YouTube algorithm stuff, and have a good day.